Hello and welcome to our climate change presentation. It's wonderful that you could join us here today in these tough times. With so many problems in this world, I consider it a miracle that we're still living and breathing, although tomorrow is not guaranteed. My team of Green Beans and I have been working diligently for the past couple of months, investigating and really getting to know all about climate change. Quick rundown, we're going to be going over how we got to this dreaded situation in the first place, the causes and effects of climate change, effective solutions, picking out and evaluating some of the best solutions, and how we can go about implementing some lifestyle changes that could save the world. Climate change is not fake news. Science and yearly temperature trends prove that our environment and planet are in danger of collapsing under the heat of the sun. We might end up no better than the planet Mars, uninhabitable with virtually no traces of life. But how does this happen? Believe it or not, it's not the sun's fault. Solar radiation doesn't change that much, as you can see here, but the temperatures still continue to rise. Though climate change is influenced by natural causes, man on Earth has weakened our planet's health to the point where cracks are really showing. Much of climate change can be explained by the greenhouse effect. We're familiar with the fact that the Earth has an ozone layer filled with gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and water vapor. These gases are very potent and are really good at trapping heat. Most of sunlight is reflected back into space, but some of it still remains. If we look at the diagram, the left illustrates a more balanced greenhouse effect, where less greenhouse gases keep the planet not too hot, but also not too cold. Now, humans have really been pumping up and compounding more greenhouse gases into our atmosphere, causing temperatures to soar as more heat is trapped. This has been happening ever since we became industrialized. So, what are some main causes then? Well, we know that any emission of greenhouse gas will contribute to climate change, but we will discuss three big ones. Remember, the focus here is on greenhouse gas. Number one, animal agriculture. Cows primarily, and other livestock contribute much to the output of methane. They fart, they belch, and they take up land. But we are so addicted to the yummy taste of meat, we let that sort of hinder our vision and make us reluctant to get rid of meat from our diets. Number two, deforestation. High school science classes taught us about the importance of plants and trees and how they contribute to the cycle of photosynthesis. If we continue to hack away at trees without replacing them, we're going to have more carbon dioxide and less oxygen, making it much harder to breathe. Number three, fossil fuels. Factories, coal mines, power plants, and cars are the front runners when it comes to assigning blame, and it's no surprise why. You can just see the smoke and the sheer number of greenhouse gases and pollutants that we produce. Now, after examining a few of these causes, you shouldn't be surprised of any of the big three effects mentioned here. First one, flooding. The polar ice caps are melting faster than they are freezing, which puts more water back into the ocean. If this keeps happening, coastal cities and islands like Hawaii, the Maldives, and Florida will be engulfed by the ocean. You'll have refugees crowd up cities as they try to start over since their houses are foreclosed and underwater. Now, the second thing is a bit tricky, drought and irregular weather patterns. Climate change surely does affect our weather patterns, but it's not always clear as to how. We might see situations where patches of land become dry and barren, which leads to famine as there would be less farmland and disappearing freshwater sources. But places that usually receive rainfall might get hit harder with surging storms and heavy hail. The third and last effect I'll bring up is the adverse effects to your health. If we take a look at Beijing in 2013, smog, which is just fog and smoke, remember greenhouse gases, covered the city for months on end. Pollutants like these are common in these growing Asian industrial countries. Air pollution really exacerbates the effects of asthma and increases your chances of getting cardiovascular disease. That's only the impact from air pollution. The chart over here goes over even more undesirable health consequences. As we can see, climate change is real, it's dangerous, and it's happening every single second of the day.
Alternative solutions. The first alternative solution we have is cutting down fossil fuel usage. One way to cut down fossil fuel usage is by relying less on vehicles. Instead, you could carpool, use public transportation like buses, walk, or ride a bike. Some more things are converting to wind power, biodiesel, and plant-derived plastics. Our second alternative is cutting down electricity use. Cutting down electricity is as simple as unplugging unused appliances, drying your clothes less in the dryer, opening your blinds instead of turning on all your lights, or even buying solar panels and energy-efficient appliances. Our third alternative solution is cutting down less trees. By cutting down less trees, the change in climate slows down by 10%. And by planting more trees, it contributes to our oxygen supply. Our fourth alternative is eating less meat. Eating less meat is very impactful for getting rid of a large amount of methane. By switching to a plant-based diet or a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle, you'll be healthier than eating fast foods or going on many other diets that still involve meat. Having less land for cows means we'll have more land for other purposes, like crops. And our last alternative is being an activist, informing others. Opening the eyes of others encourages more people to take action and actually make a difference. Even if it's small, yet meaningful at all, it still makes a difference. It also encourages other people to look out for each other and find ways to help their community.
To choose the most effective solution, we came up with a criteria table. Our table is based upon the top 5 most important things to us. At number 1, we have real impact. We had to question ourselves by asking, will reducing fossil fuels and cutting down electricity actually make a difference? And how much carbon dioxide goes into our air? Will eating less meat make a difference in the amount of methane that goes into our atmosphere? And will cutting down less trees actually improve our air quality? And lastly, will advocating make people open minded about believing in climate change and making a difference to stop it? At number 2, we have the ease to implement. We also had to ask ourselves that will it be easy to carpool, take a bus, or ride a bike to work? Is it easy to unplug unused appliances? Is it easy to stop deforestation? Is it easy to change the way we eat? And is it easy to go out of our way to speak to people that may not want to hear about climate change? At number 3, we have the willingness of others. Are other people willing to make sacrifices in taking a different transportation, using the washing and drying machine less, making a switch to tofu, and be able to inform themselves and inform others about climate change? At number 4, we have affordability. Can people actually afford to invest in solar panels and electric cars? At number 5, we have reliability. This was our least important one, as some people are able to maintain the same process every day, but others may be too lazy or may just not want to actually put in the time, put in the effort in advocating, making a change in their lives by what they eat, how they arrive to destinations. And we use those 5 topics to go off of how we're gonna choose our most effective solutions. The significance of the high, medium, and low in our criteria table is to see the most likely it is for people to actually implement, and the least likely they are to not do any of them.
Okay, so my group actually had a really tough time coming up with a final solution for climate change, as we were debating on whether to cut down the use of fossil fuels or cut down the use of electricity. But as we were looking at our criteria table, we saw that reducing fossil fuels did have a really high impact, but it also came with a lot of lows, as it wasn't very easy to implement. Not a lot of people might do it, and it was pricey. It was pricey to incorporate into an individual's life. But as we were looking at the electricity use portion of the criteria table, we saw that it didn't really have major highs, but it also didn't have any major lows. While both were very good, viable options, we decided to go for conserving electricity as it was just a more realistic option. We just thought that it would be easier to implement into people's lives because people can just turn off the lights, use their phone less, etc., etc. While if you were to try and reduce the use of fossil fuels, you would have to buy maybe an electric car, you would have to use public transit, and using public transit is pretty inconvenient for most people to get to work. So yeah, we just thought that conserving electricity was the better option between the two. Okay, so my group tried to find ways to implement energy conservation into our daily lives. So we did this by opting for solar energy. And what's funny is one of my team members already had solar panels on his roof. And basically what solar energy is just clean, renewable energy that can power your house compared to the non-renewable energy that uses fossil fuels and greenhouse gases and just totally just jacks up our climate by contributing to climate change. What I did was opt for LED light bulbs instead of the regular normal light bulbs because LED light bulbs also conserve energy, and when you use energy, you use greenhouse gases, fossil fuels, leading to more climate change. So yeah, LED light bulb. And also, they'll save you money. These two will save you money in the long run. Cutting down on phone usage is also a very good one because when you use your phone, you have to charge your phone. When you charge your phone, you use electricity. Use electricity, fossil fuels, greenhouse gases, climate change. Unplug any appliances when not being used. If you didn't know, appliances actually do use electricity when you're not using them. So it's just better to unplug them. It'll save you money, save you energy, save the planet. Super good. And lastly, I honestly thought this was pretty extreme, but one of my friends, she used a clothesline rather than a dryer to dry her clothes. A dryer, again, uses electricity, contributes to the whole climate change concept. But yeah.
Reflecting back, climate change has been one of the most controversial problems that the world is facing for years now, has been facing for years now, and is still present till this day. Everyday human activities, has been a contribution to the problems that this world is facing. These activities can range from fossil fuels, deforestation, electricity usage, and livestock agriculture. These can result in glaciers melting, drought, and floods. Many may not believe that this is an important issue to tackle, but looking back at the impacts of climate change, it's very crucial that we do something about it right now rather than later. It is no secret that we can't stop climate change, but we can, as people, can contribute to prevent it and reduce the causes of climate change that will then eventually lead to temperature rising or the melting of glaciers and etc. Looking back at the temperature in 1984 in comparison to 2019, you can clearly see that this is no joke. Knowing this, do you still believe that climate change is something that should be acted upon or it exists? Because in this timeline, In 1884, the heat or the weather was normal, while in 2019, the temperature has been rising and rising up until right now in present day. Many may still not believe or say that this is not real or it's the world changing, naturally changing, but with scientific evidence and reality, humans are the ones to be the main cause of climate change with their everyday doing, with their everyday life. And we need to start educating ourselves and begin committing ourselves to implement on the different ways global warming can be prevented. You can even implement at the comfort of your own home by cutting down your electricity usage or volunteer to plant trees. There are different kind of ways you can help to reduce this problem we are all facing today. The world is in our hands. It is our job to start making change for the planet to be better for every one of us, not just humans, but animals and plants and trees. Because before you know it, we will cease to exist. And if it's not being done right now, we are part of the problem, so we should be the one solving it, or at least be part of the solution.